Welcome to Ladies in Law, where real-world advice meets professional wisdom and empowerment in realms of law and business. Your hosts, Lisa Goucher, Dawn Smith, and Kellye Raymond, bring you innovative strategies, practical guidance, and inspirational stories. Join us as we inspire and support women to thrive in traditionally male-dominated fields. We're here to promote inclusivity and provide practical advice for success. Hi, Lisa here with Dawn and Kellye, and today we're just going to talk. We're going to talk about our day. We're going to talk about our lives.
Free flow.
Feels kind of scary, but here we are.
It really is. Like, Kellye, go.
That's so not nice.
What you got, Kellye? What you got, babe?
I was in a focus group all day today, and it went really well for my clients, which always makes me a little nervous. And it's a really sad case where women were implanted with medical devices, and shockingly, the companies knew the devices weren't as good as they purported them to be. So, just trying to unravel all the jurors' thoughts in my brain, but we're here.
So I have a question about that. Like, when you are in the moment and you are really dealing with kind of responses that jurors are providing.
Yeah.
And it's something so serious like that and something affecting so many women. I mean, how do you compartmentalize it to just kind of get the best information? How do you synthesize everything in such a quick way to get the best information during the focus group?
I think the hardest thing that I learned early on in my career was that I'm not in a focus group to change anybody's minds, and we really are just mining information so that ultimately when you get to trial, you can try to change a juror's mind. But you've already done the legwork on that on the front end with a focus group. And so it's difficult, though, when you have jurors. Today was great because 15 out of 16 jurors were favoring my clients, but it's hard the days where the focus group jurors just don't like your case or they don't like your client. And that's difficult because you just kind of want to shake them and be like, what is wrong with you? Why aren't you seeing what we're seeing? And so that's always a really important tool, though, to kind of step back and check yourself and think like, okay, I've got to just be listening as opposed to just thinking about how I can change somebody's mind and trying to gather up all of the information. I tell clients all the time, I would much rather lose a focus group so that we can win trial. But it always makes me nervous to do well in a focus group because you just want to make sure that you are mining all the data that you are looking for to figure out how not to lose at trial. So I don't even know. I can't remember what your original question was.
Just how do you deal with things that are so serious and just stay focused on the moment and gather the most important information that you can use to move forward?
Yeah, I think for me, it's always being in a place of just asking questions. So somebody gives you a thought, an opinion, a piece of feedback, and just like, okay, why? How did you get there? What did you think about? Who did you consider when you thought about that? Just really asking as many questions as I can.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I don't know. I think that probably asking questions and active listening is probably the best thing you can do in any conversation, even when you're not trying to get information from that person. I mean, just to have that, just to be able to feel where that other person is coming from and really understand that other person, you can always have a better conversation that way.
No doubt. I think, and it's something that especially folks in the legal industry really struggle with. It's just listening without thinking about what your reply will be. Just listening for understanding as opposed to let me just listen and wait for them to stop talking so that I can start talking. It's hard, though. You have to really practice it. How was your day?
My day was really hard.
Tell us about it.
We're doing some restructuring at our firm, apparently. So
Forced
restructuring. And I am trying to kind of be introspective about kind of what was going on. It's so hard when you're trying to figure out exactly what you did wrong or what you could do better. And
in terms of personnel moving around.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, exactly. So I just feel like we give so much information and education and training, but maybe, I mean, I know we need to even do better, but it's just to get blindsided without really knowing exactly.
Understanding why. So then that begs the question, which kind of falls in line with what Kellye was saying, asking the question why. And so maybe the ones who are out the door wouldn't be the ones to ask the questions of. Maybe it's the ones who stay because what's coming from them is going to be more positive, but probably honest, as opposed to the ones who are leaving. They're just gonna try, like the list is likely just gonna be really long, or it's not even gonna be an honest list.
I don't know. I think you might get honest answers from people that are already on their way out because they're already on their way out, right? I mean, it's always, do we really want the answer to the question, right?
I do.
Yeah, I know you do.
I absolutely do. I think that a lot of people don't, but I want to know because I want to get better. So what I would love, and really what is my vision, is just people really enjoying coming to work and really believing in what we're doing and just being passionate about what we're doing. I mean, I think that's a really big ask, apparently.
Well, and I think it's a really big ask in this day and time, too. And not just for you. I think everyone is struggling to find the people that want to be there. That really want to show up
to be an issue.
I was talking to Omar.
Post-COVID.
Our producer.
Shout out to Omar.
Shout out to Omar. When I was walking up, and we were talking about loyalty and this next generation coming up, and it's just different. And I'm trying to figure out, what we can do to grow through it.
Yeah, it's hard. I kind of sometimes feel like an old curmudgeon when I'm like, well, back in my day, and I'm the millennial of the group, but back in my day, you just kind of worked hard, and then you hoped that someday somebody would appreciate that.
Would recognize it.
Yes. And I think there was certainly a time where boundaries weren't respected and work really sucked the life out of you, and we don't want that, right? But I do think that like a lot of things in life, sort of the pendulum shifts too far the other direction. And now I do feel like there is a whole host of, I don't want to just say like all young people, because I don't think it's necessarily specific to just young folks, but I think there's this whole group of people, maybe kind of post-COVID, in my mind, maybe has something to do with it. People that just don't want to work that hard.
Well, let me just say, when you go out on the line for somebody, you really do. You give them an opportunity when really no one else would.
What do you mean go out on the line with somebody?
Like just offering somebody an opportunity that really didn't have an opportunity anywhere else. And maybe they did, but this was kind of the best opportunity for them at that moment. And then really kind of coaching them through all of the kind of difficulties they had, supporting them, paying for them to get licensed in other states, encouraging them, being positive towards them. And then that means nothing. I mean, I don't get that. I mean, just the whole loyalty thing, if somebody is supporting you and giving you a chance, then you really owe it to that person to give them a chance back.
I do think that loyalty is kind of lost now in the business world and in the legal industry. You just don't find people you do every now and then, but it used to be like loyalty was the thing. And it was a character trait that a lot of people had, I thought, and now it seems like you don't see that as much anymore.
So why? I mean, you're not getting, because I have two kids that are 22 and 19 almost, and I think I have instilled in them loyalty and what that means. I mean, just if somebody gives you a chance, then you really need to give them, like I said, you got to give them that chance back. I mean, what is happening that has caused this shift? What is happening?
I think we've really moved into a spot where, for good and bad, people are really putting themselves first above everything else. And I think in the context of working, you see employees putting themselves first above Well, where in the past, maybe I'd put my employer first, or I would put my firm first.
How do we have like a successful society if we're putting ourselves first? Yeah, I mean, really, like
she's got a couple people quitting. Now she's questioning all of society.
I mean, really, seriously, what are we doing? No, I mean, really, it's just you can't. You have to. It's for the greater good, right?
Please jump in. What do you think?
Okay, you can't take it personal,
right?
Yeah, great advice.
You
But
really.
but
I
how?
know. I know, but
How?
I can remember when I first started and was in the business, and I didn't have any business experience, and I was, I was HR, which that's scary. That's a really scary thought. And I had a couple of folks that I did what you did. I invested all the energy, all the time. It hurt my feelings. It hurt. I mean, we were fine. We rebounded fine, but I had that feeling that you had. And so that was approximately 15 years ago. And interestingly enough, with this second firm, my second opportunity to do it again in a different way, I did hold some animosity for a long time. Didn't want any interaction. Just, felt like I'd been burned.
Yeah.
Right?
Right.
Isn't that the feeling? And I set that all aside because time does make things better. And she works for me again.
Oh, you did? The one that left?
Yeah, that left.
So that's the biggest compliment, if somebody leaves and comes back.
But I do. So I fully agree. Like, don't take it personal. Like, it sounds great, but putting it into practice, I feel like, is so much harder because it is personal, right? It's my business is my baby. Nobody is going to care about it as much as I do. You love your business. You love your work. I feel like it's so hard to say or to try to tell yourself not to take it personally when taking things personally is sort of the business. I mean,
it is. And then the other thing about taking it personal, it's like you've got to have a takeaway, Dawn. And your heart has always been really big and open, because I even had a girlfriend whose daughter was in a really challenging situation. And Dawn is like, well, is she bright? Does she want to be in legal? And she's like, just send her down. I'll hire her. So, it's not that I want you to harden your heart, but like maybe there is an opportunity in this that going forward, you look at your hires in a different way to try to get a different result.
I mean, looking at the hires in a different way. So this is not the first time this has happened to me, right? This has happened before. And I took it. I mean, so when Curtis and I first formed that firm like 12 years ago, we had some newer associates, and I was really hard on them, really, really hard on them. And with the work ethic and all that stuff, I think we let somebody go because she went to yoga at 5:30 or something like that.
This is way before the work-life balance was a thing.
I was like, she left early to go to her yoga class? I'm like, what?
You fired her for that?
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah. So
now you have firms like bringing a yoga instructor in.
Yes.
Mandatory yoga to de-stress.
Yeah. But I mean, I kind of have. I mean, I feel like the goal is really, I mean, you just have to give of yourself, and hopefully that enhances the business, right? Hopefully what the training that you're giving, the love that you're giving, the compassion that you're giving, the hardness that you're giving, right? Make sure you get your shit done attitude. I mean, that's important too. And all you can do is hope that that's adding something.
I think it's very hard to try to dissect why somebody might leave their workplace, right? It could have everything to do with you. It could have nothing to do with you, So from the not taking it personal perspective, that could be that person was just not in a good place, in a good fit. Maybe they, who knows what they were going through, but it could have nothing to do with you.
Four people.
I'm curious.
So I think I also believe in, like, you can have one bad seed that can poison the others, and it can just create a life of its own, a storyline of its own. And in that scenario, with the volume of work that you have and the things that you have going on, and if they're thinking that 2 or more of them are looking for another job, it would potentially be, well, I'm not going to be here hanging to take over the load that they dump. You know, I just think things can take on a life of their own.
But let's kind of go back to like when you're hiring folks, because your firm has expanded greatly just in a short amount of time. Do you feel like, I mean, it's so hard to sit in an interview and try to determine, you know, just minus somebody saying something off the wall that you wouldn't hire. It's really hard to determine if everything sort of looks good on paper. Is this person going to be a good fit? Like, is there anything, if you looked back in the hiring process, is there anything about those interviews or those resumes that if you kind of had to look back, you'd think, oh, you know what, maybe we really just needed help, and so we made a decision, but now that I'm looking back at it, if I saw that aspect again, I wouldn't hire them again?
I mean, I think when we were talking about resilience, you know, resilience is important. I think that we've had a lot more success with people that have had some experience either in the DA's office or in the public defender's office, because they have to be able to think on their feet. They have more grit. I think we really need people with grit, because what we do is not easy, right? You're not pushing pencils. You are dealing with people's lives.
Yeah, you're not checking in 9 to 5. No. It is hard work.
Yeah, you're given caseloads, responsibilities. It's not just a task-oriented thing. Mm-hmm. And somebody's pushing you along.
Yeah, and I thought like becoming a lawyer, you know, gave you that grit. But I don't know. I mean, you definitely have grit if you've made it through law school and you've passed the bar.
I don't know. I went to law school with a lot of people.
I was going to say, wait a second.
I don't know. I think it's kind of, not that it's easy. It's not easy to go to law school, but like I know a lot of lawyers that if you met them on the street, you'd be like, how in the hell did you get through law school? So I think anybody could go to law school, right? I don't know that just going to law school
and passing the bar.
I don't know. I feel like anybody can sit and study and pass an exam, and actually coming into an office every day, working with other people, taking on a caseload. You don't have anybody to hold your hand necessarily. And I don't know. I think that people that go to law school sometimes think, oh, it's going to be glamorous. I'm going to be like Elle Woods. And then they get to a firm and they're like, oh, shit, I actually have to work. This is crazy. I can't go to yoga at 5:30. Like, what?
I'm wearing pink today.
Oh, I love that.
Shout out to Elle Woods.
Right? You know,
I don't know. I think that's right. I mean, I think when it comes to hiring people, I mean, so one of the people that's leaving, I feel like has a lot of grit based on what she did to get where she is. You know, she without going into too much information, I mean, she had to do some things and, you know, really to get through some hard times to get where she is right now. So she has a lot of grit. You know, I don't know. I think looking back, I know we have kind of changed our hiring practice now. We're really contemplating, I guess, not necessarily contemplating, but we're really looking for people that are smart, that are driven, that have grit, that are oriented to our goals and our vision. I think you have to choose people that are oriented to what you really believe in.
I
what
just
you're
think that's so hard to find out. I mean, I don't disagree with you. I just, how do you find that out in an interview?
Because they could just be saying,
right.
Yeah.
Well, and
I mean, prior work history.
Yeah. And did they pay for law school? Did they pay for undergraduate?
Yeah.
I mean, that's a different type of person.
That's true.
That had to pay for everything.
What if Uncle Sam paid?
So still, you know, if Uncle Sam paid, who paid for their living expenses? I mean, you know, when you go to school.
Did they work while they were going to school?
You know,
maybe?
There's so many aspects to establishing grit. And the thing about, you know, it's just like when I'm talking to my kids about college and they're like, geez, why do we have to take mythology? Like, when am I going to use this again? And I'm like, well, it just shows that you have the perseverance
to get through it,
to get that bachelor degree.
Yeah.
That a lot of people aren't willing to do. You know, algebra, like who needs algebra? I have survived my entire life without the algebra that I took in college.
College algebra. And
I managed to find a class around it. That's how much I don't want to do math. I found a class around it. So I think there is potentially a recipe there for you.
Yeah.
in your future hires.
You want to come in and be my HR director?
No.
Yes. Oh, you've got the HR
Oh,
experience.
Come on in. Maybe let's have them here for a podcast episode and do like a three-way interview with them.
HR?
No, like the people
Your
coming in.
quitters? Oh, your new hires.
New hires. Yeah.
Oh, that would
I'd
be
like
positive.
to talk to the quitters.
Let's call them and have them come over right now. They could be our guests for this afternoon.
Oh my gosh, we could have a round table.
Oh, it would be fun.
Oh,
that'd be really fun.
That would be.
Let me see if I can make that happen really quick.
Yeah. Tell them, serve a little wine.
Yeah, exactly.
We'll just talk openly.
Actually, I'll leave and you guys do it.
Even better.
That would be good. That would be really
get
good.
some
Okay. So I don't know. Having a business and having a lot of employees is super frustrating, I think.
Well, I think it's a great, we've talked about this certainly many, many times, is there are always ebbs and flows in business. And sometimes that looks like you've got people leaving and you have no idea why. Sometimes it looks like, oh, business is really slow. And you're like, what the hell? I've got to get more people in the door. You know, there are always just, business is no different from life. There are ups and downs and always little trials and tribulations that are just going to test. Like, you think you're gritty, Dawn. How gritty are you?
You know what? I will say, too, though, I do love I do really enjoy, this is sick. I really do enjoy like crisis situations. I'm like good and I'm
sick.
good. I'm good in crisis situations. Well. I do. And you know, it just happened, you know, the fourth one bit the dust today. And I just
R.I.P. to the fourth one.
R.I.P. And I just kind of went back to my desk and sat down for a minute, and then I walked back into my partner's office, and then I was like, okay, what are we doing? And we really hatched out a plan in like 15 minutes. Literally 15 minutes. Brought the senior associates in, had a plan to move forward, and I actually feel really excited about it. I do. I feel invigorated by it. I feel excited by it. You know, new blood in an organization always helps, you know, change the narrative. Getting people, I mean, we're a different company now than we were when we hired these three people. So I'm really excited about where we are as a company right now. And maybe, you know, everything happens for a reason too. You know, I really, really believe that everything happens for a reason, and you just kind of have to take it in, figure out what's going on, and make decisions quickly to move forward.
Yeah. I just hate that everything happens for a reason only gets said, like when something you wanted to work out didn't. But I don't know. I think you had mentioned to us that you weren't going to do exit interviews, but I always tell lawyers after they lose a trial, it's more important to do it when you lose than when you win, but go talk to your jury and figure out why you lost, what they didn't like about you, what they didn't like about your case. And so, you know,
I drafted an outstanding exit interview. Yeah. Like, spent a lot of time on it. But then the fourth one bit the dust today. So, I mean, I've kind of come up with a new plan to like handle all that now, different kind of exit strategy.
I would just be very curious, like what are the reasons that they left? You know, maybe it does have something to do with, you know, I don't think this to be the case, but what if they didn't like the culture? What if for whatever reason that wasn't a good fit? That way you can learn, okay, maybe this type of person isn't going to be a good fit.
I mean, I'm sure it has something to do with it. You know, I mean, when one person leaves, that's one thing. But when you have like several people leaving at the same time, you have to look introspectively and figure out what am I doing well? What am I doing badly? And what can I do to change to make it better? But logistically, at this point, I don't know exactly how to do it.
Have your HR manager here give them a call.
No, actually, I distanced myself from those responsibilities. I passed them along to someone else. I know what my subject matter expertise is, and it is not HR. It's not interviewing people. That's a whipping.
Me either.
It's a whipping.
That's not my expertise either.
I can remember.
That's so cute. It's a whipping.
I can remember like a specific instance where we were hiring a new manager, and interview after interview, like it probably ended up being 8 hours worth of interview. She got there within a minute. She had all of her diplomas on the wall. And I mean, by the end of the third day, we knew,
it wasn't good fit.
This is like, people can say whatever they want in an interview. Like, you can converse, you can do all that, but the volume of the work that we did back then and now, you know, it just required special people. It required people that can multitask and can stop and start, and you have to respond to every single email I send, even if it's just to say, got it.
Right.
I just need to know,
Yeah.
So there are people that do not function well in that environment.
So we were talking, so one of the senior associates we were talking to, we asked her, what are your thoughts? What is your insight in what's happening? And she said, well, when I'm talking to people, I tell them that you will do well here if you can adapt and change quickly. Like if you get just married to something, and that's what made me think of it, what you said, Lisa, is if you are a person that gets married to something and you don't like change, I mean, when you're a growing business and you're trying to, really make a big impact in an industry, things are changing. Things are changing a lot. And if you're not comfortable with change, then that you're not a good fit with our firm.
And a really big lesson as well, because you keep talking about like the systems that you're putting in place and how critical it is so that things don't fall through the crack. We learned that, basically one person cannot be responsible for like a case from beginning to end. We lost clients based upon, you're responsible for this client and you're responsible for that one. And so then we started divvying it up. And basically the way that it worked at my office, you could not come in and decide you weren't going to work that day. Because once a depot notice was sent in, like it had to be entered in a certain amount of time. And then it had to go to the person who's scheduling the court reporter, the videographer, the telephone conference setup, the conference room setup. So, any cog along that way that decided they weren't going to work that day. So it's a very unique environment. When I was a paralegal, I would go, okay, well, I'm just going to like buckle down, knock things out. Because in the next 2 days, I got things to do for myself.
I'm out.
That was not the way you could function at my court reporting firm.
Right.
Because of the systems that we put in. So it took exactly how your associate is saying. It took that personality, that type of work ethic to succeed in my office and to respond to every email I said and at least say, got it.
Yeah, that's it. That's not hard.
I think one of the big struggles that I have found when I'm trying to bring new people on is just not trusting my gut enough and sort of just being so desperate to grow and desperate for help that I've ignored red flags. And so I think looking back when you're hiring somebody, if you've just ultimately got to trust your gut, like the processes you're putting into place once somebody is new and gets there is one thing. I think, being in an interview process and just really trusting your gut, if you don't feel like it's going to be a good fit, don't try to talk yourself out of that.
Yeah, don't try to. I mean, there's a great saying, if it's not a hell yes, then it's a hell no.
Yeah, I think that's I think that's great. I think that's really hell yes.
Right? You do all your testing. You do, I think tests are really important. I really do. We've gotten some great information out of personality tests. Everybody goes through it before we hire them. We do Colby, we do Print, and the insight into those tests and the type of people based on their numbers, it really is helpful. But 100%, if you feel something, it's there for a reason,
Okay,
So,
I have a question regarding the tests.
Yeah.
Have you tested everybody?
Yeah.
You and Curtis and everybody's been tested there as well?
Yep.
Okay.
Everybody. And by the way, Curtis and I have the exact same score.
Ooh, that's kind of scary.
On the print test. I was shocked. He apparently thought maybe we did. But
Maybe it obviously works, right?
does it? No,
I mean, that's a whole different episode.
I don't know. 4 people are leaving. Who are we throwing under the bus here?
Exactly. We're out. Curtis and I are out. All right. Well, that was just kind of free flow. Ended up being just all kinds of-
therapeutic.
Yeah. I appreciate you
If you're
guys.
having a bad day, let us know. We're here.
Yeah. Hello at ladiesinlaw.com.
See you next time.
Thanks for listening to today's episode of Ladies in Law. We hope you're walking away inspired and ready to shake things up in law and business. Don't forget to hit subscribe and let us know what you think. Spread the word and share this podcast with your network. Follow us on socials for all the behind-the-scenes fun and sneak peeks of upcoming episodes. Until next time, keep rocking it, keep breaking the mold, and as always, keep aspiring to inspire.